So this is a picture of some bison at Kinky Sands where I work and get to work, and that's something you can come check out. And so what I'd like to do, just set the table for what you might expect to see at all of our preserves and what not to. When you come to a TNC preserve in Indiana, you can expect to see some signage, some interpretive signage, some signage like this at Kinky Sands, which shows which part of the site you're at and a little bit of information about it. You can expect to find some basic parking at those areas. Usually our parking spots are kind of smaller, a handful of cars. All of our trails are marked and hopefully easily so that you can guide through them. And most of our trailheads have invasive species boot brushes. So that allows you to just wipe your feet off as you go in and out of the trail, the natural area, so we don't spread anything that we want to have there. And then also our goal and our preserves are all about the natural aspect of it. So it's not like a state park or like a zoo situation. All of our preserves are pretty, focused on the natural and the ecology of that area. So leave no trace, trash in, trash out. So here's my wife and son at a preserve, that coffee cup there. If we're going to take that with us, we need to also bring it back out. What you can expect is great winter habitat, lots of wildlife, lots of birds, lots of structure and interesting things to look at. And then also ongoing stewardship activities. These are not just passive things that we just kind of protect and forget. We're always out there working. And here's an example. Son William likes to help a little bit. Some of those could be that we're doing some tree work, some invasive brush removal. Like for us at Kinky Sands, we do a lot of honeysuckle removal, autumn olive. And so you may see some trees that were removed, but just know that that is okay. And that's part of the stewardship activities that we're doing in that particular preserve. Another one you might see this fall or in the spring, early spring, would be some burned areas like this. This is a site at Kinky Sands that we burn. We've already burned over 500 acres this fall. And so that will look a little bit different than your typical other natural areas that haven't been burned. But just know, again, that's part of the stewardship activities that we're doing at TNC, and that's part of the plan. And this burn will actually help rejuvenate and enhance the natural area. So if you see that, just know that that's part of the plan. And also, I really like to go hike through these burned areas. You get to see a lot of things you wouldn't normally see with the litter removed. You get to see a lot of those micro topography features. And it's actually kind of interesting to see what shows up after the ashes kind of go away. If it's a preserve that you've been to before and we happen to see it's burned, I think you'll enjoy looking at it from a different perspective. So what not to expect, a lot of public restrooms. We do have some porta potties in a few places, but generally not. So make sure you plan accordingly. You won't find any indoor areas like a visitor center or anything like that at our preserves, just a basic parking area and a trail. And sometimes there are staff available out there doing stewardship work, but you can't always expect that. So don't expect to find a TNC employee. Sometimes like in here, we have volunteers. These are our bison rangers that we deploy occasionally with staff out and to talk to folks about that, about the bison or the restoration. So there are special events like that where you might catch us. But if you do see us doing some stewardship work, we'd be happy to talk to you about the project. My hobby that I like to do in winter and summer and spring and fall is photography. And specifically, I really like to do macro photography. So looking at those really small things, usually for me, that involves plants, that involves butterflies, insects, and just things that I want to get closer to that I can't quite see all the detail I want with my naked eye. But in the wintertime, I kind of have to change my focus and think about, there's no butterflies flying necessarily. What I'm photographing in the summer, I have to pivot from. So in the wintertime, I'm really looking at unique textures, patterns, or stages of life. In this case, this is a prairie plant, Monarda fistulosa, and the seeds have fallen out, but you get to see these really cool structures that hold the seed and kind of the pattern. And actually, I took this particular with a macro lens that I clipped onto my cell phone. So you can do that as well. Another great thing in the winter, a lot of plants hold on to their seeds, especially in the beginning part of the winter. So right now and a little bit beyond. And you can look at those seeds. A lot of seeds are different shapes and different colors. And so we got some different carrot seed here. I think these are Kankakee mallow seed actually on the left, if I remember correctly. And so it's just really neat to look a little bit closer when you get that opportunity. Every seed is, like I said, different shape and has a different purpose to why it's structured that way. And it's really fun to look at. Ice is another feature in the winter that I like to look at. It's always changing. There's freezing and there's thawing. And the light, how it hits the ice, it's always in flux. So you never know. You can hike the same place all winter long and see different formations of ice different patterns. And also it's fun if you're along a river or along a pond or something to see what's lying beneath. Sometimes there is life that is swimming under there or kind of dormant that you might catch. I often will see leopard frogs in the shallows and the wetlands underneath some ice that are kind of just sitting there. More occasionally a turtle that has come out on a warmer winter day. It's constantly changing with the snow and everything. Snowflakes are another thing you can try to focus on and take pictures of. Some life does remain if you look hard. And I really try to do this because I do love insect photography. And here's an example of some ladybugs that I found that were hibernating in this log and in this little crevice. They wouldn't come out, but they were in there. There was a whole bunch of them in there. And I was able to get my camera just to get this one guy to come out and get a good shot of how they're spending their winter all huddled in there, hopefully nice and warm. But there are other insects that do that as well that you can locate. Here's another one. This is the Herald Moth, which can be seen in late fall and early spring and occasionally through the winter. A lot of trees, when it warms up, we get those warm pulses in the winter, will put out sap. And a lot of these winter insects, these winter moths and other things will feed on that sap because they're very high in sugar and good energy for them. So if I see a tree that has some sap flowing, I'll try to remember to go and look at it. You never know what you might find. And finally, several of the other things that I like to look at on my hikes with my camera are leaves. This particular leaf obviously wasn't in the winter. It's pretty green, but what it shows is these little patterns in the leaf, which are unique and that you can find also in the winter. So this is created by some sort of insect known as a leaf miner. That could be a wide variety of insects, but what you can do is you can find these in the winter and look for their patterns. If you can identify the host plant and take a picture of the pattern, there's some field guides out there that allow you to identify the actual insect just based on this pattern and the host plant, which is kind of fun. Tree bark is another good thing. A lot of patterns on there. You can get moss and lichen and different things to look at. And it also can help with your tree identification if you pair it with winter twig ID. Every tree in the forest has unique characteristics on its twig. And you can go from tree to tree and take pictures and look at the little features of the twig and identify the trees in the forest. It doesn't need to be summertime. You don't need to have leaves. It's a whole nother way to learn your trees. And that's a really fun thing to do while you're out. And also fruits. And this is a sort of a nice root formation that we find at a local trail that my son and I go hiking up. And we always like to climb up this section. It just seems very prolific, especially for him. So that's how I like to spend my time out in the winter with my camera in my hand and hiking and looking for those little things that are of interest to me.